And I know that Phil came to the meeting on November. He was an eyewitness to the entire thing. So,
is there anyone else here who was an eyewitness to that entire event? You were back in the beginning
for most of it.
Yeah, I wasn't present at the entire thing, but I was outside of the woods the entire time. As the women came running out of the woods, I was right there where my tent was. And so I saw, as they were coming out, and then I saw Casey and Jesse and the other man rushing in, and then they, and I saw them coming back out again and such. So I wasn't there during the entire thing.
The part that Holly did not witness but probably heard was me yelling at the guy.
Yeah, I didn't witness the confrontation directly, but I was aware of it.
Yeah, Phil was standing right next to me. Ganymede was standing right next to me. He could not be here today, but we've already had one board visit from an actual eyewitness to the entire event. So.
Okay. Well, this is really contradictory to every account I got that day. The first account I got was from Phil, standing down here in the parking lot, where he told me that you guys ran a guy out of here. That's what he told me directly. That is also what the two women who came to me later to report the incident, that's exactly how they expressed it to me. And that was also expressed the same way by the person who ran out, which of course I anticipated. So these are the comments that we were going off of, was that your group ran someone out of here, and that was the exact terms that they gave.
Interesting. Okay. First of all, the two women were not standing next to me when I was talking to the guy, so they were not eyewitnesses. Now, the phrase "ran a guy off" is interesting because anyone who actually listens to what I said, and this is quoted directly in that document, one of the things I absolutely said exactly was, now, we are all kinds of sex positive in this camp, and if you want to set up a tent, you are more than welcome to do whatever you like inside your tent with full consent.
And I would take that as very logical if it wasn't being screamed at.
Well, there's a thread right now on a website I'm banned on that suggests two people in certain circumstances that are exactly the same, that is, experiencing sexual assault, that is exactly what they were supposed to do.
No, you misread it. It actually says for them to scream for help for someone to come, not to confront the
Which is what I did. I said, guys, I found him. He is right here.
I will interject, having read that thread, it says, scream, that is not acceptable at this camp, and presumably someone will hear you and relay that someone is screaming that, and there might be a problem.
There was someone who suggested that. That didn't come from us.
Okay. Yeah. No board members were within earshot, but there were people within earshot who then came and did that thing.
But you have made this to sound like you saved them from a sexual assault.
I did.
In which they came out of the Elysium and were safe, and you could have sent someone to get someone to deal with it and actually got an identification. At that time, they were no longer in any danger.
Okay. Who was on site at 3 o'clock on Monday?
We were here on site almost.
We were here all the time.
Yeah.
I was still on site.
I know you two are
still on site.
Was there anyone else here?
And people wearing a good shirt were still at the safety tent right at the top of the stairs.
There was no one within earshot or eyesight at that time.
I'm confused about the time because I came through Elysium at 2:30 looking for two friends who were supposed to meet up and go to lunch, and nobody mentioned anything to me about it, including the two young ladies who I am acquainted, honestly acquainted with. So I don't know what time this actually happened, but I was in Elysium at 2:30 looking for my friends, and it was all very quiet at that point. So I didn't witness that, but nobody approached me about it either. So, and I walked by you on the site, but that doesn't mean anything to me breaking down. And
The phrase ran someone out of camp is something that someone might use if they were highly emotional about the event at that time. I can understand how Phil might use that phrase because he was very highly emotional himself at that time, and because the upshot of that moment was that the guy got up, picked up his stuff, and left. At no point did I tell him to leave. At no point did I tell him he wasn't welcome here. At no point did I say anything but, what you are doing is not allowed at camp, which is in fact the official stance of the board, and that is what we're supposed to do. I did everything in absolute conformity with what is theoretically supposed to be done.
Actually, what we put out after the thread that you guys are talking about on Bob was posted over the summer, and it was revisited by nobody that was actually part of the original that original incident was about. So that was brought up only because of this discussion that was happening this weekend, and that was actually brought up by Russell. He's the one who retagged that entire post. But what happened on that post was that it brought to our attention that the public, by their own words in that posting, were suggesting to people ways to deal with something. And it brought to our attention, you know what? The public is sitting here telling other people how to do things that are actually unsafe. Okay? The board of directors, we are covered in the case of somebody getting physical. If there were a person that you did not know on this property doing something unsafe, and you went off into the woods with them, and by Phil's account, him and Ganymede didn't even get there until you had already started addressing this person. So you, and I'm not saying that you can't protect yourself, Casey, but you were in the woods with somebody that you didn't know by all of your guys' accounts. You don't know what could have happened. That's what our stance is on this.
I saw him, I yelled, oh hell no. They were there within one sentence.
I'm not even addressing the actual situation. I'm saying there was a person that was doing something that people felt unsafe about. You ran off into the woods to this person to find them. You don't know what this person could have done.
I was accompanied the whole time.
Phil's own account. Hold on a second. Phil's own account that he came to this board meeting and told us was that he was slower than everybody else, and he did not get there when you started. That by the time he got there,
there was another person with me.
But what I'm saying is that you guys were by yourselves. The board of directors are. If we address somebody and something happens on this property to us, we have the ability. We have every ability to. We're able to do that, and we're willing to put ourselves on the line of possibly having a physical confrontation with somebody. We don't want the rest of the public to have to do that. We don't want you to have to do that. Which is
this is not a practical policy, and there's a couple people that want to
It's not a practical policy to tell you to not put yourself in harm's way. Our policy that we put out was, okay, if I see you, you know the rules. I know who you are, Casey. We know who each other are. If I see you fucking some guy next to the stage, I could go up and go, Casey, you know better. We know each other. You know what I'm saying? If I know the person, I can easily go up to you. If I don't know who you are from some other person, I'm not just going to walk up to you and go, hey, that's not cool, dude.
There's like 4 people that want to talk.
I know, but that's what our policy was. Our policy was, if you know the person, would you actually like to read what we put out? Our policy was that if you know the person, approach them. If not, look for somebody.
There's 4 people that want to talk.
I want to say something. First,
about
her.
This is directly in response to what our thing is. This is what our policy is. We did not follow policy. This is what our policy was that we put out before Laidback.
This was posted publicly on July 7th, and it was reposted in several different venues after that.
I feel like
Dear Gaia Retreat community, it has been brought to the attention of the board that the community has concerns about behavior that does not follow the rules as set out for Gaia Retreat Center. We would like to take a few moments of your time to clarify these rules and how the board would like to see them supported by the community. That's you, if you are reading this. First of all, the board in times past and present has worked diligently to keep rules simple and easy to follow. A summary of these rules is posted at the beach and in the shower house. There is also a list of rules posted in Phoenix Hall, the registration building. New copies of these will be posted in these places, and we are considering one or two other well-traveled locations on the land. It is the board's belief that the majority of our community, when presented with these simple rules, will be glad to follow them to the best of their ability, and will encourage their own friends and family to do the same. Leading by example is the best way to encourage these behaviors. That being said, in regards to the people who visit Gaia and do not choose to read and or follow the letter and spirit of the rules, we ask the community to help us by doing the following. Observe the people who are blatantly breaking the rules and contact the caretakers or a board member to address the issue. Do not record their behavior with cameras, phones, or other audiovisual equipment. 2. If you know the people and feel comfortable patiently educating them, please feel free to do so. Please always take another person with you to talk to someone, and if the rule breakers do not respond positively, contact the caretakers or a board member. 3. Always consider the safety of yourself and the people around you. Aggressive confrontation is not endorsed by the board. 4. You can contact the caretakers by going to their cabin, or if they are not there, by using the radio that will be hanging outside their door. You can let any board member know what is going on if they are present at camp. Remember that social media is not the best forum for addressing concerns of this nature. Each board meeting has a session that is open to all community members. The board meeting is posted on the calendar, is usually the first Sunday of the month at noon. If you wish to speak during the meeting, please email the secretary at GaiaRetreat.org to let the secretary know ahead of time so that she can put you on the agenda. You are always welcome to attend. That is followed by the simple respect agreement: respect yourself, respect others, respect the land, and a link to the rules, which you can all link to on our website. So, there you go.
I'm going to let other people talk for a little bit. Holly, the eyewitness, should probably go first.
I just wanted to say that Casey and two other men, obviously when the women came out, they decided to respond immediately. And Casey, in that sense, was not alone. There were two different paths that were taken into the woods. One ran this way, and Casey ran another way, but there was Ganymede, there was another man, and there was Casey. And after I heard news that Casey and John were to report to the board, I asked Ganymede about what had happened there. Had Casey asked the man to leave camp? And Ganymede said, no, Casey had never asked him to leave. She told him it was inappropriate. I was like, are you sure? Because I really want to know the truth here. And Ganymede insisted she had never told him to leave, that she was simply informing him, albeit I'm sure in a loud tone. Now, I said, Ganymede, Casey had approached him, and, what did you miss? And he said he had heard the entire thing from the beginning. He was within earshot of this conversation. And in this sense, Casey did not go into the woods alone. Now, she may have been standing right next to him while they were standing, maybe 30 feet, whatever is earshot. But they were able to hear everything. And at least Ganymede was. And I also would like to say that one of the rules that was just read was stated as take a person with you. And if you see some abuse or some incorrect action of types, that you take a person with you, and if this person being approached doesn't respond positively, contact a board member. That is in one of the rules, and I believe that's what was that was the attempt. That was the scenario that was the attempt here. That Casey and 2 other men. Casey didn't charge into the woods without other people knowing, without other people also doing the same. And the reason that they split up is because they didn't really know where this guy was.
There was another guy that was camped in Elysium that was actually, the skinny kind of hippie looking guy was actually right with me the whole time too. So it was me and him that went in the entrance down by the hop. So I was not unaccompanied at any point.
But I also would like to point out, I don't think that that's technically breaking a rule if it's actually in the rules that you can take a person with you, and if this person does not respond positively, at that point contact a board member. Because I did hear that read, so I'd like to point that out.
I don't think
I
that
missed the whole contacting the board member.
Yeah, there was never
That never
one.
occurred.
There was never an attempt to come find anybody that is a
The
Actually,
girls
Casey said
no, the
is
2
that
young
they-
women were immediately going to come down and do that.
Phil
Okay,
came
I would like to
the board
answer,
member.
and-
He didn't, but
No,
Phil
he
did.
did not. Actually, I'm sorry. We run our meeting by please raise your hand. We were addressing you. Phil did not come down and find Clint. It was per chance that they just happened to be. Yeah.
I happened to be in Phoenix Hall parking lot while he was throwing away the trash, and he came up and told me how proud
Well,
he was.
we all heard the girls say they were going to come and speak directly to you.
Yeah, but hold on. But the point is you're supposed to do it at the time. They did come down almost 2.5, almost 3 hours later and told me about what had happened. And they gave a similar incident. You were involved in the incident. You were right there. You knew what was happening. Why didn't you just have somebody come down and contact us, or you yourself?
Because they said they were on their way down at that moment to talk to you. That is what they said they were going to do. And they, in fact, left and went down toward your cabin at that point.
It's true. And
Okay, hold on a sec. Here's the thing. You guys are admitting one that where were you guys camped outside of Elysium?
right.
Pretty much right at the end.
Okay, so exactly what are you guys using to be able to see from there to the caretaker cabin? How are you able to see from there to the caretaker cabin to know that once they left your view, that that's exactly what they came and did?
I trusted them to be telling me the
Okay,
truth.
you also
you know, what
you also
they
admitted
said
from
they
the
were going to do that.
Right, but you also, so you don't know that that's what they went and did.
No,
you said they,
no, we didn't.
You said
The
they left,
incident
so
was
they left
about
you the
them,
same.
not about me.
Exactly.
It was about them.
Right.
They
but
said they were
but
coming
The
immediately.
second you put yourself
What is the
into it,
point
it's yours
in that?
also.
There's no point in asking that. They told
Yes, there
us
is.
they were going to do that. They left. I assumed they did that.
Yes, there is, because you stated from the beginning that the reason you went off and did that to begin with was the fact that you couldn't see from where you were or in earshot know that there was anybody on property. So if you didn't know that there was any on property, what's the point of trusting that you went off and did this because you
You're
didn't
not
think there was
making any
anybody
sense.
still on property?
All right.
No,
Yeah,
hold on.
no.
Hey, hold on a second. By your own admission from the beginning of this whole thing, you stated that you went and did this because you didn't think there was anybody, and you asked each one of us, well, were you here at 3 o'clock? Were you still on property? So you thought that there was nobody on property. So what's the point of even going to try to find us if you didn't even think we were here? So why believe that they were going to go talk to us if you didn't even think we were on property?
I'm going to let other people talk.
Oh, so you had your hand raised first.
In the first place, nowhere that I found is the board members have published the who is whom might not be known to anyone at any particular time, but apart from that, Clinton and Lee are here all the time. However, in what constitutes, if not an emergency, at least an urgent situation, finding them in a timely manner might not be all that feasible, what with having to get around on foot or drive very slowly and have a radio which might or might not function depending on which individual they own and what they've included. Further, these rules, rules is a good enough word. They at least the spirit of them, don't confront them if things don't work out well, report, were followed. And further, as a 501c3, a certain adherence to the federal law is required a little more closely than under a truly private trail such as Google headquarters. And because of this, in Kansas, well, related to this, in Kansas, while there is no duty to intervene or to report a crime being committed or recently committed, the protections exist for those who choose to do so. What Casey did was not only legal and proper, but also within at least close to the guidelines of these rules, which are common sense rules, but which I doubt that she ever saw posted, because if they were posted online, I don't know where, except in Fog, from which she has been banned for some time.
There, on our Facebook page, she has perfect access.
Okay, as I said, I haven't seen it, but I believe it. I've only been to the Gaia website. I'm not there.
I'm sorry. If you're going to make snide comments about where you think we've seen things, you guys have stated multiple times that we should have been able to find all of your comments online. What? It goes back and forth. It's a back and forth.
I'm not making snide comments. I'm saying I don't know whether it's published.
Okay, let's hold on just a second. Let's talk about the issue at hand, because I think we can talk about policy and what is and what isn't. The reason that we're here today is to discuss what happened that day with Casey. Okay, that's the only reason. I know there are other people there. Some people chose not to come and give their side of the story. And so therefore their side of the story is not going to be part of our decision, because they chose not to come. Casey, I'm glad you came. I'm glad you did, because I wanted to hear it from you what happened.
Exactly.
I did see your comments online. After a while, I didn't see them right away, but I did see your comments online. And this is the whole issue we're here. Whether or not you have been banned from another group or whatever else, that is totally irrelevant to this case. What we're here to decide today is what happened that day. Were you operating within the rules and guidelines that we posted out on social media? And if not, why? And to come up with some resolution. Excuse me, Russell. This is not about. It's not about what you're going to say there. We're here to discuss the issue with Casey. Okay, I understand you have plenty to say, but it's not relevant to what we're here for. And I think we're all getting excited and it's getting out of hand.
You're here to discuss the issue with me. We are actually here to talk a little bit about due process. And so I think maybe if you would recognize.
No, we're here to talk about what happened. We want to.
You are. We're not.
That's
We're
fine,
here to
but our
address the board on
executive
another
session.
issue. Okay.
Can I really quick? Okay. Normally, in a case like this, we would just have you come in cases. In this case, because it was so, you had a lot of people involved, we said.
Permission to get my stuff and take off?
Yeah.
That's going to take a while.
Yes. So we thought it would be helpful for you to have your people around. So that's what this particular session is about. If people want to come to us and talk about due process, we can make an appointment or put them on the agenda for whatever time they want to at a different meeting. Well, yeah, unfortunately, because
in which case I will remain banned from Gaia and this meeting is over. Okay? Either we discuss this issue and the problems with it, or
you
we
are
don't.
not in charge of them cases. This is the president. This is the board. We invited you. We want you to be here. We want you to come.
It's hard to be
You
heard
let other people talk.
if you don't let people talk that actually were there and had the experience and need to share their side.
I know, and I was going to ask for an exception for somebody who lives out of state, myself. I was going to appeal to the board for that, because personally, I respect his opinion. But the way that it works in this particular process is that we invite the person. I don't think Casey did anything wrong as such. I think it just kind of got out of order because we had put that out in July and it did say don't address somebody you don't know, but maybe you haven't had a chance to read it. That's fine. A lot of people don't. I was hoping to kind of intervene and say, I want to hear what we did with everybody else. What we did with Phil, what we did with Jesse from a previous thing, is we have this person, the individual, come in and give their side of it. We go, okay, that makes sense. That's all we wanted all this time. We just wanted to hear your side of it because we had heard other things. So we wanted to hear it from the horse's mouth, and unfortunately we can't
You could have called or emailed for that. and I'd happily talk to anybody in the board and everyone. I work on Sundays.
I know.
I work on Saturdays. I had to hire people to run my shop today so that I
You could have contacted us and given us a day. You might have been able to meet with us. That's the way we do it. So that people will actually come
this
to the
is
meeting.
not the way you do it. This is the way you do it with me.
No,
No,
it's not.
that's-
See, that's
that's-
actually
that's
Casey.
not
Your
true.
letter,
Please,
Casey,
please,
your
please.
letter. Hold on just a
They're not
second.
gonna
Your
let
letter
you
was exactly
They're
copies
not
from
gonna let-
every other letter you've ever sent to any one person asking if they could come to a meeting and discuss something that occurred. There was we treated you no differently than any other person.
I don't
Ever.
think that's
You can believe what you want to believe. That's fine.
just not true.
Casey,
That's fine.
Casey, that's
I
so
read the
not.
letter.
That you're Casey. Listen,
Hold on, I'm
wait,
going to go
look,
ahead.
I'm
at
gonna
this,
say
hold
one
on. At this
thing.
point, I'd actually just like to let her. Is that your father?
Yeah.
I would like to let her father go ahead and had his hand raised multiple times, and I'm going to go ahead and let he has raised his hand.
Do we need an administrative
go ahead.
rules exception?
No.
I think you're the bigger one.
No sarcasm.
Go ahead.
The issue I've had from the very beginning is the process is flawed. I am, people know, highly experienced in very large companies. So I believe in formal protocol for dealing with lots of stuff, especially crisis. Calling 911 for a medical emergency is a formalized protocol with supporting infrastructure. Sometimes the formal protocols are not responsive enough and must be supplemented by ad hoc and additional actions and decisive activities. For example, I believe that any of us in this room, if we saw a child at Gaia being beaten, would intervene. I did that in a parking lot one time. I said, you can't do that. Stop it. I'm calling the police. I don't know what the Walmart parking lot protocol was. It didn't matter. The moral imperative at that point was to say, I really respect formal protocol, but it doesn't apply in this case. I would like that to be the point of my remarks. That I totally appreciate the protocol, I totally appreciate the guidance and the language. Sometimes decisive actions need to be taken beyond protocol. This is one.
And I have no argument with that. Would you mind sharing a safety handbook? Do you care?
Sure.
Just so we can get kind of what we're.
Care to take a look at this? I run the safety crews for the two events, the Earth Rising, Gaia, actually, on Earth Day and way back Labor Day. I have a crew of 42 volunteers. Often enough, there are people who have worked with me before and know what I expect, and often enough they're not until they need some instruction. The backstage is just a name of copies and pasted. They're just informative from our website. The initial pages are they'll give you an idea of exactly the way that I ask my safety people to behave in an incident where they're dealing with someone who needs help, someone who is.
One example I just gave, that if you or one of your staff wasn't around and the kid was being beaten, what would you do? What would you suggest someone who witnessed that do?
Obviously,
Intervene.
allow a child to
Right. So one would say, I really respect this. This applies like most every situation I can imagine. But once in a while, there's an intervention.
But then, Dave, then what happens?
If I may, since we're speaking, I personally am happy for members of the community who are not formally part of the board or formally part of my safety crew. I'm happy for them to remind others of the rules. I encourage that. That's a benefit. Because even with 42 people, during an event like APAC, I generally have maybe 6 or 7 working at a given time. And this is a huge place. It's very difficult for us to do everything at once. However, what you will find if you take a look at that, and what I ask from my people is, there is a way to do things. And if we are going to insist that someone who violated the respect agreement and not being respectful of others, we have to do that respectfully ourselves. We can't overstep that line while we're trying to ask someone else to stop overstepping that line.
If I saw a drunken father beating an 11-year-old boy, I would step over your line and say you can't do that. And if I had to intervene by putting myself between the father and the son, I would do that.
Yes, sir.
I would call, I'd scream a lot asking for help. But my point is that sometimes intervention beyond the formal protocol is not just necessary, it's morally imperative. And so, and I appreciate this. This relates to 99.999% of the occasions.
At the time when you confronted this person, was he currently at that moment in the process of assaulting someone, or had that crisis moment passed and it could have been dealt with?
He was in the process of breaking the rules of camp,
Okay.
and in fact, there were people wandering through Elysium who would have witnessed him openly masturbating,
Okay.
and that constitutes sexual assault. He was in the process of committing not only a breakage of camp rules, but an actual crime as defined by sexual assault.
Fair enough.
In Kansas. He was committing a crime.
And that is precisely why we wanted you to be here in person to clarify these things with us. Because it's not always clear. And especially when we take, like all of us had read your statement that you made as your official statement. We had also read many other comments from you and from others that were there. And they weren't all, they didn't all hang together as coherent. So having you here where we can speak with you and ask you to clarify these things, that's exactly why we wanted you to.
I hear you saying that. So, okay.
Yeah, I have one thing.
No, you don't.
I do have a question. You relayed this a lot to, I'll use your example of coming out in the grocery store and a child being beaten. But in that circumstance, if you were coming out of the store and the child came running to you for help, would you not take that child to the store authorities, or would you then pass him off and head out for the individual? Well, the analogy doesn't work because these two women are not children. Well, right, I understand. Okay, well, that was just the analogy you used, so I was just trying to figure out the difference between
basically, the women then took themselves to the store manager, or at least they said that's what they were going to do.
Okay.
So,
Right. One thing is that I think bothers me, not about what you did or what happened or whatever, is the insistence that you are being treated differently than anybody else that we deal with when we have an incident. Okay? All right? Anytime something happens that we want somebody to come to the board, no matter what, this is how we do it. Okay? So to say anything different about that, it's not true, because this is as a board. This is as a board how, as long as I've been on the board, and I think before, is that this is how we reach out. And wait a minute, okay, all right, and it's not meant as anything is like, just come on, let's talk about it, let's do it face to face, get it over with, and deal with it. It's not. That's all it is, okay? And
if that's not possible because my schedule won't allow me to do that,
we work with you. But we work with everybody.
Then we would ask you to reach out, and we would see if we could find an accommodation where we could
Nobody
meet.
asked me. I was sent a registered letter. Nobody asked me to reach out. Nobody reached out to me. So that's all I'm going to say.
Actually, I did reach out. I sent you an instant message asking you to call me so that we could try to figure out when you could come meet.
That was well after Rhiannon had made phone calls to everybody on the board, well after we had all gotten registered letters.
Right, well, because we had not received a response, we were reaching out, and Rhiannon would help facilitate that.
Yeah, I had intended to walk away for good. I was talked down from that.
I did have a question for you. When you came on this guy, though, so I don't know if we really talked about that particular moment. So when you came into the woods, and so what did you see at that moment?
He was laying on a blanket, naked, with a porn magazine with naked women in front of him, a duffel bag next to him. His hand was on his penis and it was moving. Okay? And that kind of specificity is what I asked the young women when they first came out of the woods. I wanted to ascertain absolutely exactly what the activity was that they were reporting. I asked about 12 very careful questions about all the encounters they had had all day, and I made them say to me, hand on penis and hand moving, and they said yes, over and over and over again. Looking at you, I mean, there was one report that they gave of one moment that day where he had come up, they were sitting in chairs, he had come up and approached within touching distance of one of the women, stood there, hand on penis, hand moving, and said, hey, how are you? What's up? How you doing? Hand on penis, hand moving. While he tried to engage them in conversation. Multiple times he did this. And that's exactly the kind of detail I got from them before I ever moved my feet. So, the details were absolutely clear that there was a actual sexual assault that had been going on virtually all day from these women's reports with multiple incidents.
Yeah, I'm here for 3 reasons. One, to support my daughter. Second, to make the point I just did, that formal protocols are extraordinarily important and valuable, but sometimes urgency demands that they be set aside momentarily. And the third point is that the due process, first of all, banning from Gaia is a punishment. So to start a process of investigation with a banning is like going into a convenience store after it's been robbed and saying to the witnesses, we really need you to be truthful, and we're going to put you in jail.
So you can testify in court?
Right?
Precisely.
I mean, it's backwards. It's just backwards.
Hold on a second. Let me explain.
That's all. That was my point. The due process that starts with punishment will never accomplish.
But you're going from entirely an outside point of view.
Absolutely.
I'm not entirely. Hold on a second.
I have written checks.
Let me explain
support,
something. Let
and
me
I've been here several
explain something.
times.
No, let me explain something to you. The process that happened here, the events that occurred here from our side of this were as such. Clint was down at Phoenix Hall, and Phil came down to, it just happened to be in the same space, okay, and told him what happened. What he told Clint at that point was multiple times, and Clint even asked him to clarify his points multiple times, and basically gave him the opportunity to change how he was saying things. But he multiple times stated, we ran this person off the property, we ran this person off the property, we ran this person off. So that's what we have. That is what we have as far as what was originally reported to us. We have nothing else to go on because nobody at that point had come down and reported anything to us. This would be like secondhand knowledge of somebody coming to using examples that you use yourself is somebody coming up and going, I saw a robbery happening. I assaulted the person that was involved in the robbery. It's been handled. Okay, using your example. All right.
Yeah.
No, using your example. All we have is one person.
It's using your words in my example.
No, it's not. It's using your example. If you came up on I'm using your example precisely. This example. Hold on a second. The next time we even heard about this was Clint then getting a report from the two women that were the ones that originally this entire thing started off as, that this gentleman or this man was assaulting them. Yes, and I will agree with you, Casey, that is assault. Him casually deciding to walk up to somebody.
That is defined
that
as
is assault. That is assault.
Yeah.
These women being assaulted by this man. Okay.
We all agree on that.
And that's all we have to go on. Those are the only two accounts we have. And while we do agree that he needed to be addressed also, we have on the other side somebody who says they were involved in the incident admitting that they went against our respect agreement and that you guys also ran him off, basically told him to leave, and that was Phil's original account. So all we have to go on is that this man did something wrong, which was addressed, and that there were multiple people involved. Phil described who was involved, and that's all we had to go on was to email those people or send a message to those people saying, we want to talk to you. By Phil's own account, by the way Phil described it, you guys had also done something wrong, if it was by how Phil described it. So, by our own rules and the respect agreement we have, if you do something that breaks those rules, you're not allowed on camp property. So if we go only by what he said, the way he described it, you guys had also done something wrong. So our protocol in that instance is to say nobody's allowed back on camp property so everybody can come and clarify. Phil was banned. Phil came in November. He was banned until November when he came in.
I know, and
he
that's
stated
a
what he had,
problem
and
with
we
due
told him.
process.
We told
That's
him,
the
you
problem.
know what you had, okay, so you were heated in that moment when you came down and talked to him. This is what happened. You didn't assault him. You didn't. All right, Phil. In the future, if this happens, we talk to Phil about that. That's all we were asking from the beginning.
And what we're saying is there's a problem with due process in that promise.
Why?
That's not what we're here to discuss today.
That's what I said. If
I
would, if people would like to participate in helping us improve our board and our, that'd be great.
We ask that you you contact us. We will put it as a note as a future topic on our board, and it will be discussed. Right now, our agenda is set. When we walk into this room in the morning, our agenda is set. This is what our agenda is for the day. If you would like to add an agenda item to a future board meeting, that is perfectly fine.
And we
encourage that. We want people. We'll take the time out of our schedule to discuss this ad hoc, whatever, at a future meeting. But that is not what we're going to discuss right now. What we're discussing is what actually occurred that day. Actually, Russell had his hand up first.
I have one substantive question, which is, it's not comments about whether or not there was a drone camera tracking the two women on their way to camp. If they're walking somewhere other than First Field or Pixie Sticks or Elysium away from there, they're walking towards the pavilion and the junction to the native. They said they were going to talk to Clint, that they were going there. So tracking was irrelevant. As far as Casey knew, protocol was being followed had she known the protocol, because people involved in the incident were all reported. She was not abusive to the person. I'm not talking about the reports she got. I'm saying in point of fact, presuming she's not lying, she went and confronted it. It didn't go well. So she and the other person she was with, in case he turned out to be the guy at Slasher, withdrew, and Mr. Guy at Slasher wannabe drove off instead of sitting around and finding a tent. They went to educate. It didn't go well. They, plural, withdrew. Someone presumably went off to report the incident, and in fact eventually did report the incident. In what substantive way does this differ from the letter of the law?
That we say first, if you don't know the person, not to address them if he had his hands on, or was, when Casey found him, he was not involved with any other person. Unfortunately, it would have been great to have that right there. We'd have 15 cut dry, we've done. That's not what happened. Right? So, what we had put out was what was read earlier is, if you do not know the person, come and find a caretaker or a board member.
What's his time? He doesn't know if he knows them or not.
True. But then ask them
Very stats.
And Russ, I appreciate you being here in support of Casey. I do, because I know you guys' relationship. But unfortunately, you weren't there, right?
I'm finished. I just wanted to finish what I wasn't going to finish.
And those suggestions about how to approach a person, they're there for the safety of the person who feels that they should be approaching an offender as much as they are about doing it in an appropriate way. I would never want to encourage someone to go, hey, go tell them they're violating the rules, and then that person gets hurt. That would be inappropriate. It's something that I'm very comfortable doing. I've done it professionally for years. So I know how to do it. And just to clarify, had I known about this person or been contacted or seen this person, I absolutely would have immediately removed him from the property. I don't want there to be any
I hope he's been banned. I hope he's been identified.
I just don't want there to be any confusion about how the board sees that behavior or what we have been doing about it. I was here almost every weekend this summer, not during events, running my safety crew, trying to bring this specific issue under control because it had gotten out of hand. We are committed to this, very much so. I just want you to know that.
Janet hasn't had a chance to talk yet.
Okay, now I'm pretty much the outsider here. This is the fifth time I've been on this property. Since 2003 or something like that. But that's enough that you'd think I'd have at least at some point seen this respect agreement y'all have been talking about, and obviously it must not be terribly prominent, or I'd have at least noticed it somewhere.
Okay, so presumably you've been on the property. Have you checked in? Have you registered at Phoenix Hall every time you come in?
None of the events I've been to have had registration there.
Did you just find the place randomly, or did someone bring you here?
I was brought here.
Okay, so then that person should know the rules and should know that our rules are that the building that's down here, that's our registration building. There are a set of rules that have the respect agreement directly in front of a podium where you sign your name on an envelope, put the money in because it is $5 to be here for the day. It is $10 if you'd like to camp overnight, and it is $15 if you'd like to sleep in one of our cabins.
Well, but some of it's
I know. Okay, so otherwise, that's just our general day. Otherwise, it is if you're here for an event. That event, if it's an exclusive event, may have different. You're still those are worked into the price that they have for that. Otherwise, so our rules are stated down there. They're directly where you.
I do not go to the big festivals.
Every event also gets a copy of the rules and is expected in the contract to share that with all attendees. So I don't know what events you were coming to, but that's really on there.
Yeah,
Also,
that's expected.
Our respect agreement, there are 3 large wooden signs on a pole when you walk in, each one about this big, in safety orange and safety green, that are the respect agreement. Are they gone now? Okay. Well, they need to be redone. They've been there for the last few years. It is important.
They passed it way back in 2012, and then some of the stuff that we're talking about probably wasn't posted prominently other than, hey, be a nice guy.
And if that's the last event she has, we have updated how we do that. We do have people post. I have a reader at the beginning of the line, and
and they are supposed to be asking if you know the rules. I have them posted on on the front of the computers, in front of the computers on the tables at registration. I cannot physically force people to read something though, but it's there for them to read.
It is on
So
Facebook.
we do have it posted, what our rules are, what the respect agreement is. It's there.
So go ahead.
Yeah. Yes.
Have you ever, have you visited the website at all or the
No.
Facebook page? So
I've seen a few things on Friends of Gaia, and that's all I've ever seen.
Right. But
So far as I'm aware, you did not have a web presence. Of course, I never bothered to Google you because I've really not been that interested. But I'm here principally because it has been a quite significant part of the life of some of my friends. But also, I'm concerned. It sounds like you have a better handle on the safety thing than was my impression. Certainly,
I work very hard at it, and I try to get it better as much as I can every year. I'm always looking for ways to improve.
This particular sort of thing, I'd like to urge you to caution, because I understand some of your neighbors here are not, shall we say, friendly, and if you want to make it as simple as possible for people to deal with issues of sexual assault as conceivably possible. If having a bolder member of the community speak to a person, albeit perhaps with a slight excess of ire, because respect to the community was important to them. It could get out to the neighbors, and that might make getting your conditional use permit renewed when the time comes up much more difficult.
It's a perpetual use permit.
What I would like to say in response to that, one, an excess of ire. This is something that is extremely important to me personally. I do what you did a lot. I had to remove 4 different people from Laid Back this year. I had to talk to 2 others about their behavior. And excess is not something that I can afford. I must do my job politely, respectfully, and professionally. I must. Otherwise, everyone out there that sees me will absolutely distrust me, and I can't afford that. So, for a well-known member of our community to go and address someone, that's one thing. Okay, to do it with an excess of anything, that certainly makes us aware that we need to discuss this matter and find out why and how. Do you understand where I'm going with that?
I'd have been happy to discuss it with anyone who approached me.
Okay.
I do not perceive that as the same as getting a registered letter. But I actually think that everybody who came on this issue has pretty much said everything we need to say and intended to say. So what I'm going to hand out here, and I'll summarize this so that I don't waste your time. this last piece of paper is a personal statement, and it basically says that I have absolutely no regrets and no hesitation about what I did, and that I believe I handled it in the way that anyone should under the circumstances. That is, to use Dad's phrase, it was a moral imperative to go in and assist these women at that moment. In the case of immediate endangerment or criminal activity at camp, I would do exactly the same thing again, and I will do exactly the same thing again under the same circumstances. So, what this says is the board is welcome to choose whether or not to rescind my ban, but if they choose to do so, it is with the clear understanding that I will do exactly what I did. And knowing that, please feel free to continue my ban if that is not something you're comfortable with. You have the exact report and eyewitnesses to back up exactly what I did there. And if you're not comfortable with me doing exactly that under these circumstances, then by all means, continue to ban me from camp. Because I believe that there is, actually you guys can get your copies later, I believe that there is in fact a moral imperative to intervention in that way, non-violent intervention at any point that I see a crime being committed at Gaia, and I am not able to find anyone else who is in charge to assist. And yeah, we didn't have time to go look for people.
Can I just say one thing also?
Yeah.
All of us over the years have worked very hard for camp. Okay? We have.
Sure.
Okay? And we all have done it, and we love this place. Okay? We all have made our sacrifices to be here and work for camp. Okay? Because we'll all agree at times it's just not easy. Okay? There are difficulties. It's a huge commitment, that over the years that we've all made. Okay? Personally, I wouldn't have it any other way. I know there's so many of us feel the same way. Okay. The whole entire situation also to be put out on social media the way it was, and for people to say things about me personally who have no idea who I am, to degrade who I am, okay, to personally attack my being and not even know my damn name, okay? Wait, I'm just gonna say it because I'm just saying this, okay? And I know you, okay?
Yeah.
All right. To call me an elitist? Wait. I'm just saying. Okay. I'm just saying there were people because of this that happened. So to say that, I was personally upset with the whole entire situation. Okay, I didn't want it. I hated that it was happening on social media because I'm not going to get on social media and have a fight with anybody about anything because I feel that it doesn't solve anything. Okay, so I'm just putting that out there because I feel it necessary as an individual.
To the people who did that,
Some people of those people are sitting.
I think she is speaking to one of them right
now.
Okay, well, some of the things.
Cool. So you're talking to me.
No, but I'm just saying that. Wait a minute, Casey, I am so glad you came.
Yeah.
I am so glad you came. I'm just glad you came. All right.
I appreciate that.
I
think that we are probably done here. I will volunteer to assist if at some point somebody wants to talk about due process and the structural problems with the guidelines as they stand, which I kind of tried to sum up. I stand ready to help. My father has helped on many nonprofit boards as well as actual businesses. we are willing to be a resource if anybody wants it. I do appreciate your time, and I think we're going to go ahead and let you move on with the rest of your agenda at this point. I don't expect to hear anything about the ban decision either way. I actually will be surprised if you lift the ban on me. And I am really sorry that you've been attacked online. I was not aware of who any of the board members were, really, except for Clint and Rhea and Aaron. It is almost impossible to find that information
It's on the
online.
Secretary of State's website.
And Audrey, you know that I am greatly appreciative of you and grateful that you're in the world, and at no point would I or have I attacked you. So, I appreciate we've actually got a bunch of stuff to do.
Okay.
So, I think we're gonna probably just say thank you and be done.
She's saying that she's done, so I'm done with. We're done with everything.
I'm
We're gonna go back into our executive
I don't.
session.
I made one suggestion you might welcome.
I serve this land and this community. I do not serve this board, except in the capacity that it is
The board
service
serves this land in
to.
this community.
Well, that's the question here. Is
We live in a new
Every Sunday afternoon.
Every
There's a more common problem. Fortunately, people are more comfortable coming forward and saying about it. But safety is an
Via the website. Go to GuyRetreat.org and there's an email.
There's a
happy to
contact us.
consult or help with this if my
The last time I tried that, contact us.
a network of
Try it again. You got a new website.
20, 25,
Have you been on our
8-foot
website?
safety orange painted
It's probably
poles that are
been
very
since
heavily
it was before the year that
I would like to speak, but I would like to
FRS
allow
radio
to everyone.
saying, come here,
before
help,
2018.
or perhaps
well,
even
I
a
will
network
stand.
of shield
Fine.
poles.
Yeah, if you
But
want
also,
to,
one of
use
them
a
always
brand new
has
site
something
that
to
started
add.
off and
Police
afterwards
calls.
It's a mud.
Police call box or
Okay,
something.
was it because
Identify.
that
is something
admittedly,
that
we've had
myself
of course, there was
and
always
board
with any new
members
website,
on
there's
team
always
already
a.
That's great. Was this looking in the genetic waters?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And if
Was he
one of these
lucky?
Yes.
every 100
Him?
yards,
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think so.
never more than
Sweetheart.
150
He's the sweetest. And he rescued him like about 4 months ago.
It's not many hard
So
to
he's a wonderful dog.
in places we are non-consistent.
Yeah.
If you want to, Elysium is a
Eden is
place
asking
that
to
we are
speak.
not.
Can we take just a
If
second?
this has anything to do with
as a start,
your
it
topics
should be
that you
built
have
out.
asked
And
for us to close
now
this
that the
topic,
final land payment was
you
met,
asked for it to be
the
closed.
funds from layback used to improve
Yes.
it.
No,
Not
I
to get
guess
improvement.
we're getting too
So you asked for this to be closed.